Hey everyone, I'm Katie Daryl, and she is Amy, our latest and greatest Cancer Can Rock musician. Amy, how's it going today?
It's going great. It's going absolutely great. It's a beautiful day out, so
Tell me about your recording and your song, and do you just have goosebumps in anticipation of it being released?
I am so thrilled. It was the whole process of doing it with them. I recorded songs before years ago, and then I, for some reason, wasn't able to record at all. I really just, it kind of shut off for like 10, 15 years. And then after my bone marrow transplant, I was able to start writing again, and it just felt like it was a new experience. And so when I was referred to Dirk and everyone, it was just incredible to be able to go through the process with who I'm now. Obviously, everything that happens really changes you. And so it's really awesome to be able to go through and then to just the quality of musicianship that I was able to work with. I'm very, very, very excited. It was beyond what I could have thought. It was awesome.
It's so funny because everyone says that. Everyone's just like, "Wow, I was so impressed, and it was more than I imagined, and the musicians were so nice and so talented." And I am just so happy to hear that. But equally, it's funny. I get to hear that from you, but then you don't get to hear from the other musicians how highly they speak of you, and about your grace and the way you come into the studio and shine and just
Hmm.
are such a great musician. So I want you to know that everyone equally respects the music and the talent that you brought to the table.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, you did mention that there was a time that the music was lost. Let's say, was that like writer's block, or just you didn't have time for it? You didn't have the motivation, the inspiration. Tell me about that moment when music wasn't, fueling your life.
Well, music was always fueling my life, but not writing. When I was young, so I went on my first 6 week singing tour when I was 13 with a singing group up and down the East Coast, and then I got really into the theater, and I went to college for opera singing actually, and I don't know. And after high school, when I was really, in the thick of, I traveled to Europe a lot doing opera and the U.S. and nobody really I was really focused on, learning those different languages and all the things and traveling and performing. And it was all about the career rather than like who I was as a person. And it kind of yeah, and then when after I kind of stepped back from that career, I really fell into rock bands and other bands and solo performing and jazz clubs, and it kind of was hard to get back. Like I just couldn't get back. I've always said I've kind of had a different life, professionally doing this and only focusing my life on music for so long. It's hard for me to write, but then something changed after my bone marrow transplant. I mean, I work every day on trying to, I try to like after everything that happens, my brain is definitely not there's like medically stuff from the amounts of chemo and radiation and the long time that I've had it.
Mhm.
I was like actively in ice chemo and everything for like 3 years, and well, not just ice tea, but everything. And so I know the importance. I feel a lot of importance in just working on myself rather than career, career, career. And that's really what I've been doing after having to take that time off. And it's been really interesting that once I focus on growing myself as a human, the songs just come out so much more easily. And they just had, I think it was maybe a self confidence thing, or as a young singer, whenever I teach voice or coach people, I try to make sure that they know it's so important to take care of themselves because
Mhm.
I had some great teachers, not great teachers, but some great teachers, and no one really told me about the importance of like taking care of
Yeah.
yourself mentally and physically. So that's in the songs. I think maybe now that I started doing that again, it's definitely it just comes out now.
Yeah, mental health is so important, and luckily such a part of the conversation now, right? For
Yeah.
artists and musicians. And there's so many resources out there, not just Cancer Can Rock, but, all the, industry greats from Gibson and Fender, they're all involved in these great mental health programs for musicians and reminding people
Mm,
to take care of themselves.
mm.
Because for so long, people were just using the therapy of writing, and now they understand it's okay to talk about that. You're using the therapy of writing.
Yeah.
All right, rewind. You mentioned being an opera singer, but then you also mentioned liking rock and roll. What can we expect from your song Poison?
I would say it's definitely, I'm a big, so everybody asks me what music I like. Now, I lived in Florida for a long time and I played a lot of older music there, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I started out before that in the country scene. Now, where I live in Pennsylvania, I go all over the, Jersey and PA and Baltimore, and I still play a little bit in Florida. I do a lot of 90s and 2000s music. So for me, I really love any music that I connect with people. So I don't have a regular relationship with music because I don't just listen to music. That's what all I do is I like listen and I try to facilitate that. Or so I whenever anybody asks me if I like music, I just or what music I like, excuse me.
Right.
It's like I don't know, it depends on people who I'm around, what they like. But
Yeah.
if I really had to pin it down, I'm a huge sad song person. I love like the acoustic slow sad songs. And I think that on one hand I'm obviously a big advocate for mental health, but then also on the other hand I think it's we don't give people permission to be sad. And so I think that for me, I like that whole, everybody wants everyone to feel better. When you're going through cancer and everything, people ask me what was the most important thing, and I would always say, when people told me this is awful, this is not okay, because everyone wants to say it's okay, it's going to be okay, but it's not okay, and so this song would kind of go in that singer songwriter thing, but I really had a rough draft of it. There's some other songs that I'm working on to produce now by the end of the year, but there's a rough draft of it, rough draft, and I just gave it to them. I was like, I don't know. Here's my melody line. Here's my chord structures. Here's the song map. And they just made it into something really great. So, um, and this was the very first song that I wrote when I got out of, actually my first year of cancer, I was in a coma and everything. And, when I got out, I wrote this song, because of the cancer. And so I'm excited to have been able to give it to them and they just like made it come to life.
Wow, I love a good collaboration. Can we
Mhm.
talk about the title, Poison?
Yes.
All right, so let's dig into obviously the story, the title,
Yes.
and the inspiration and the lyrics a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I was really so I had a big loss um during my first year. I was pregnant, and the because I was in the hospital, they couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me. I was given so much pain meds, like because I was in a lot of pain. It was a rare marker for my cancer. And the baby came early and it didn't make it. And then even in general, thinking of a heartbreak that I had experienced, the person was literally inconsequential to my life. But it kind of, I was thinking about just kind of angsty. I was just feeling that. And then the loss, so a combination of loss of previous relationships as a musician. If I, I'm very emotional. I get really happy, really sad, and I feel it. And so it was everything in my past life. And it really just thinking about the loss. And then I'm still on medicine, like chemo and treatment stuff. For me, it was a really, really long time. I woke up in the hospital like I don't remember 3 months of my life that I was there, because I was on so much. There was also when they put me in the medical coma, I woke up and I was very confused when you're there for like a little over a week. And
Yeah.
so it was just a culmination of everything. Now I write songs when I really try to think about my feelings. But when that happened, I was still insecure about writing songs when I got this idea. And I just did it. I just went with it. I just said things from my experience, which I'd never done in songwriting. So some of the lyrics relate specifically to things that happen in the, like in my coma stay, in that hospital stay. And so yeah, it was cool because I was able to use that, like specific things that people probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I know, like specific things that happened. I just put it in the song. Yeah.
Your battle with cancer seems to have been a long one and still is continuing as you've expressed. Can you tell us a little bit about what type of cancer you have and what's going on and how you found out about it?
Yeah, I have a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's like a special one though, a rare one, a rare case where normally they only find out post-mortem if because there's normally no symptoms. And so, like I said, I was pregnant, my first pregnancy, and I was in a lot of pain. And I got halfway through my second semester, and everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were saying, oh, you're just not good at being pregnant. Some women just don't like being pregnant, and so I didn't know. And then I went to the ER like 6 times. And I just kept saying, I'm in a lot of pain. And
Mhm.
nobody, they're like, oh, it's an infection. I knew the nurses really well by the time. And then things started going downhill really quickly. So they admitted me. And then I was in the ICU of Harrisburg for a long time. And then I had the baby, they had to put me in a coma. And then I woke up and I'd lost so much time. So I went through chemo after that. And it didn't, well, it everybody said that, probably worked. And then within a month after ringing the bell, it did not work. It came back worse than ever. And so I had to do ice chemo, which is like around 6 hours of chemo, three days, every 2 weeks, 2 or 3 days. And I mean, that was pretty tough. I
Mhm.
was never I was never like I always worked through it. I only do I was successful in my career as only being a full-time musician because I don't sit still. I worked through it and everything. And then we were waiting for a donor for the bone marrow transplant, and it finally happened. It was great. It finally happened. Well, I mean, it wasn't great. It was terrible. And then people said it might be like just like chemo, and I'm like, I never had a problem with chemo. I mean, obviously I was sick, but it is what it is. I struggle when people say fighting cancer because you don't really fight it. You just have to get through it. Like there's nothing I could do other than there's a lot of things that went wrong with me, and then I finally got a match. Went to the bone marrow transplant, and I got my transplant, and then I felt a lot of pain. I was like, I'm feeling a lot of pain. And they were like, I said, I think my cancer's back. And they said, there's no way your cancer's back. Um, they said, this is the scope of the transplant. And if your cancer was back, it would be over here. They said it's never happened before. And then a day or two later, it it was back. So like never in the history of the hospital had it come back like in 6 days of the
Wow.
transplant like that. And so my doctor, who's brilliant and he's incredible, he's kind, he's incredible. He's a big researcher.
Mhm.
So he had looked at these pills. I don't know if they're just new in general or I know they had never been used for my cancer. I think it was a lung cancer pill, but they had some of the same markers. And he said, we can try this. I remember he wheeled me out of the room, and he was like, okay. And I was like, great, no big deal. And he's like, no, like pretty much unanimously, no one thinks that you will make it, but we're just gonna try it. So that that probably that week, I got a blood infection. The bone marrow transplant went really bad. I had C. diff. I had like everything that almost everything that could have gone wrong went
Mhm.
wrong. Pretty much my whole cancer experience. And so I remember being driven down to be admitted to the hospital, and I knew that I would never see the sky again. I knew that this was it. Like it was it. And I had been so worried about what did I believe happened after, or what did I believe, how it is as gonna feel. And then it was here. And I kind of just had peace because I was like, well, it's here. So I was admitted, and then I started going to heart failure. So I went to ICU, and they gave me the pills. And then the next day, I was just like, let me out of here. I'm fine. This is prison. This is jail. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I was all of a sudden better. The pills were like amazing. They were really amazing. So unfortunately, I'll be on them for the rest of my life. He said he took it to the Council of Lymphoma Doctors, and they unanimously agreed that I needed to stay on it. So, because
Wow.
we don't really know, was it the bone marrow transplant that eventually, I eventually got a test saying that I was like, I had like no, like 0% in my whole DNA, and they test from like a 1 millionth degree, and I have 0% of cancer in my DNA. But it is hard because it's come back so many times. Um, and so, I mean, I'm on the chemo. I'm just really trying to do everything I can. I'm a fitness instructor as well, so try to work out, try to do music, try to
Wow.
live a life that's comfortable. There's always that in the back of your mind that if I die next week, it was very prevalent for me. Now it's not as much, but if I would die next week, would I've been, sad about what I'm doing? Because this when I was re-diagnosed after I thought I was fine, I remember driving in the car and I was just thinking, why last night was I so annoyed about something stupid that someone said? Like, why? Like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
And now I got diagnosed again. So, um, yeah, I mean, I will say, last thing I'll say is that I keep bringing up mental health because everyone told me that it is really, really hard after you get through everything. And I was like, well, it's not me. Like, I'm not gonna get depressed and get really bad. Like, I'm fine. Yeah, that's everybody else. But it like after everything was over, like it was a struggle to like stay on this earth. Like it was very hard. I had a friend who fought overseas, and he said, it's almost like, yeah, how can you fight for your life for so long and then come back into and try to have like safety, security, life goal, I'm finally getting through that, but it was a long time that it was tough. It was very tough.
It's almost a bit of a trust issue, right?
Yeah, it's not yeah, trust issue, and it's kind of like go wild. I have some brain damage from all of my treatments. The casings for my like neurons are not. So it's also now that I actually know that too, it helps because it's like, okay, I'm not okay, but that's okay. It's kind of being able to, get the help you need and just figure it out. So my doctor's face definitely is like probably the one thing that kept me going. Like nothing weird, but he we always joke, so nothing weird, but because I'm like, he fought so hard for so long with me, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I have to stay on this earth because I could never do that to him. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's been a journey, but I think it is sad, I think, for everyone that it never ends. Like it never ends.
Mhm.
It will always keep coming. Things keep coming up from the radiation. I'm getting a cataract in my eye. It just people don't talk about that. Like they don't talk about how it people say you're fine now, and it's like, I mean, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here at Cancer Can Rock, our goal is to help give you music and a little bit of a light-hearted day, if you will, a moment to kind of step away from all the treatments. Do
Mm.
you do you feel like you got that when you stepped into the studio? Did you
No,
have
it
that
was
day
more than
of
that.
relief?
It
Oh,
was amazing. It was especially because I used to do it on a different level, and it was just so affirming, and it was awesome. The guys were so great, and they took my dream and did it even more, and it was such a great time. It was awesome. I absolutely loved everyone there. Yeah, it was so great.
and one of the things I love is obviously you get the song, but then there's the music video. So that's kind of a fun component to have the video cameras and everything around you,
Oh,
right?
I'm nervous about that.
Why? Do you not, are you one of those people that just, you don't like seeing yourself on camera,
Yeah,
or?
yeah, 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 yeah. I can hear my voice. That's fine. But oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, they don't show you anything, so I have no idea how it's gonna look. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, we are so happy that you said yes and that you were a part of this. And it wasn't just your idea, right? Tell me about is it the Ullman House?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
when I got re-diagnosed,
Mhm.
excuse me, even for the ice chemo, I will say, quick, I won't take up too much of your time, but I stayed at a house, a free housing place. I'm not gonna obviously name the name, but I stayed there, and it was the first time that I wasn't okay. I was like, I walked into this place and there were names of deceased people in memory of all over the place, all wall to ceiling. And every room was dedicated to someone who passed away and everything. And it was for older people. And there's a lot of people that looked really sick, really, really sick. And I just was like, that's the first time I felt like I'm dying. Like I'm not gonna make
Yeah.
this out. And so I was struggling, and my mom found this place called On the House. And it I didn't want to go see it because I'm like, these are all just, I mean, they're not, but in the moment I was like, they're all just
Sure.
death, like I'm just gonna go to die. So and we went to see it, and we walked in, and it was beautiful. It's all people like my age. And it is painted like blue and yellow. There is a big kitchen, big living room. There is, you have your private rooms, and downstairs they have a music room. Um, and they have an outside deck. They have a game room where my dad and I would play foosball before things got bad. And they have but like it's just it's an incredible facility. So anytime they have events, I try to go back and sing
Mhm.
for them and try to do anything because I mean, the bone marrow transplant, I don't really like. I just stayed in my room like in a pool of sweat for the whole time, 3 months, 2 months.
Mhm.
But it helped me gave me so much hope that I knew I was going to stay there. Oh, then they have a rooftop place you can sit on the roof. And but my parents found so many friends and support, going in there. Also, I'm more susceptible to things, so I was I got a bug bite, or I got MRSA basically. I had a cut, I got MRSA, and I had to go to the hospital. This was last May, and I was in there for 10 days. And I recently moved up here from Florida again, so I don't know too many people. And the Almond House people, the staff there, they came and brought me food, and they came and saw me and sat with me every day. And it's a really great community. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go hopefully hiking. I committed to hike with them. I'm raising money, so I definitely need. You can go on my website, or we can Almond House has a website. Look for my
Okay.
name. It's a lot of money that I'm raising, like $10,000, and we're gonna hike Kilimanjaro. So
Whoa.
yeah, so this is a big thing for me. I was very fit before everything happened. Because the chemo pills and everything, it really changes
Mhm.
your body. I'm scarred up. And this has been really great. I've been training for it because, not only is it raising a lot of money, I think there's 10 of us or maybe more. So if we all raise $10,000, it's going to be, they can change so many lives and just not, yeah, just help so many people. And then, yes. And then as a personal thing, this is really important to me because like, I, I have so many images of me in the hospital. For 3 years, I used to model, I used to do all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
for free for 3 years, like nobody would hold doors, nobody would look you in the eyes, nobody would, kids would be scared of you, and it sounds like dramatic, but it's not. The one of the worst parts was 1 to 2 to 3 times every week, someone would come up to me and say, "Oh, do you have cancer?" Or I was walking on the treadmill at the gym, and a guy said, excuse me, I just want you to know I pray for people like you." It's never just, you can't just be like,
Yeah.
people are scared of you, but they also don't stop coming up to you. Or somebody, the So I think that this is, yeah, I would love any help. This is something that is going to be a challenge, but it's going to help me feel like, myself. I mean, a better version of myself. So I'm committed.
Well, listen, I know everyone that is a fan and a donor for Cancer Can Rock will love this story and will want to support you. So
Yes,
obviously, it's the
please.
Ullman House,
Make sure you get my name.
ULMAN. Pick your name, not another Amy.
No, no,
And
not anyone else.
hopefully,
Me.
let's get you to Kilimanjaro.
And
So
I
thank you
will
so
say,
much for. Oh yeah, go on.
yeah, and I will say also, I did, as I said, I lost a child.
Yeah.
I wrote a song about that, and I was gonna do it for Cancer Can Rock, but it's definitely like I like, it's very personal. So I just sang it at the Allman House fundraiser, and that's on my website, amypeckmusic.com. I might put a Kilimanjaro code there that you could find it there as well. But if you want to hear any of my new music, hopefully I'll have an album done at the end of beginning of next year. So check it out.
Yay. I can't wait. I can't wait. Well, thank you for being part of the Cancer Can Rock family. And thank you for sharing your story and
Thank
just
you.
spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. Thank you.